Have you ever felt like you're just stuck, kind of running the same patterns over and over again and not really sure why? Well, what if I told you that you can actually become the architect of your own mind? Seriously. We're going to dive into this because neuroscience and practical psychology are showing us it's totally possible to rewrite the very code that runs our lives. And just to get a sense of what we're up against, get a load of this number. A whopping 95% of your life, we're talking your decisions, your reactions, your deepest habits, it's all run by your subconscious programming, not your conscious thinking brain. That means for most of your day, you aren't really in the driver's seat. Your old programming is.
Okay, so picture an iceberg. That tiny little tip you see sticking out of the water, that's your conscious mind. It's the part you're aware of right now. But the absolutely massive hidden part underneath, that's your subconscious, and it's a beast. It's this giant memory bank, processing millions of bits of info every second, while your conscious mind is just chugging along handling maybe 40? It's a legit superpower we all have, but most of us have no idea how to use it. And this isn't just some new age idea. Listen to Nikola Tesla, a guy whose inventions were like a century ahead of their time. He was convinced he was tapping into his subconscious. He would literally visualize and perfect his inventions completely in his mind before he ever touched a single wire. Now that's the kind of power we can all tap into. Maybe not for inventing a new electrical grid, but for building a better life for ourselves.
Right, so if this subconscious mind is so crazy powerful, why do so many of us feel stuck? Well, here's the problem. Most of us are running on some seriously outdated software. Think of it like belief patterns that got installed in our heads when we were kids, usually without us even realizing it. Let's look at a really clear example of how this plays out.
So check out this quick story. You've got Titu. He grows up hearing things like money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work your fingers to the bone. So as an adult, what happens? He's always stressed about money, he's scared to take risks, and his confidence is in the gutter. Now, on the other hand, you have Sonu. He was always told where there's a will, there's a way. So as an adult, he sees challenges and thinks, okay, opportunity. He takes smart risks. He's not terrified of failure. You see, they had the same potential, but they were running on completely different programming.
And that really brings the question right back to you, doesn't it? What are those old tapes that are playing on a loop in your head? You know, about money, about success, about what you think you're capable of. Is your programming empowering you like Sonu, or is it holding you back like Tidu? Just spotting those old patterns, that's the first huge step to changing them.
But here's the really good news. You can absolutely update your mental software. And you don't have to do some massive, intimidating overhaul to get started. We can begin with some really simple but powerful daily habits. Let's call them mind tonics. These are things that reset our mental state and kickstart that reprogramming process.
All right, tonic number 1 is so powerful because it's just so simple. First thing in the morning, before you grab your phone and let all the emails and notifications and chaos of the world flood your brain, just drink a glass of water. That's it. This one little act starts your day with self-care and discipline. You're making a choice, clarity over chaos, intention over reaction. It's a small win, but it totally sets the tone for your whole day.
Now, this next one might sound a little weird, but hear me out. Real growth only ever happens when you're at the very edge of your comfort zone. So try to make it a daily thing to do one thing that feels just a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe it's taking a 30-second cold shower, or finally speaking up in that meeting, or just starting to learn a new skill you've been putting off. Every single time you do this, you're sending a powerful message to your subconscious. You're telling it, hey, I can handle challenges. You're building that mental muscle one small step at a time.
Okay, tonic 3 is a big one. Let's be real. Motivation is a feeling. It's flaky. It comes and it goes. If you only ever do things when you feel like it, you'll never get anywhere consistently. Discipline, though, that's the engine. Discipline is a choice. It's deciding to show up and do the thing even when you're not in the mood. This tonic literally teaches your subconscious that your commitments are way more important than your temporary feelings.
Okay, so once you get those daily tonics rolling and they start to feel like second nature, we can move on to the deeper work. Now we're talking about the focus techniques you can use to actively get into your subconscious code and start rewriting it. This is your architect's toolkit for building a whole new mental framework.
So here's our toolkit. It's basically built on these 6 core techniques. First, we have to understand our beliefs to even find the old code we want to change. Then, we manage dopamine to clear out all the mental noise and distraction. We practice mindfulness to create that crucial space between a trigger and how we react. And then we start installing the new code by cultivating gratitude, visualizing our goals, and affirming our new identity.
Let's unpack a few of these.
Einstein really nails the first step here. You can't change a belief you don't even know you have. So, try this. Start a thought journal. Anytime you feel stuck or have a negative thought about yourself, just write it down. Then ask yourself, why do I believe this? Is this actually 100% true? You'd be amazed how often just shining a light on these old beliefs shows you how shaky they really are.
You know, our brains are just wired to seek pleasure. And today's world is like an endless buffet of cheap dopamine hits from social media, binge watching, you name it. A dopamine detox isn't about getting rid of all pleasure, it's about getting it back under your control. By intentionally cutting back on these super high stimulus things, you let your brain's reward system hit the reset button. It helps you get motivated for the stuff that actually matters in the long run.
Think about when someone cuts you off in traffic. What's the instant automatic reaction? Probably anger, right? That's your subconscious programming firing off. Well, mindfulness, through simple things like just focusing on your breath, creates this tiny little gap between that trigger and your response. The goal is what you see on this chart. We want to shrink that automatic reaction and give ourselves more space to make a conscious choice. You still notice the anger, but you get to choose not to let it drive the car.
Here's the wild part. Your subconscious mind honestly doesn't know the difference between something you actually experienced and something you just vividly imagined. That's why visualization and affirmations are so ridiculously powerful. Look at people like Steve Jobs, Alia Bhatt, or Shah Rukh Khan. Khan famously just repeated, "I am the best" to himself, programming his own mind for success way before it ever happened. When you affirm your goals, when you see it, feel it, and say it, you're embedding that message deep into your subconscious.
So we've got the tonics, we've got the toolkit. The big question is, how do we put it all together into a plan that actually works? Well, this is your blueprint for turning all these ideas into your new reality, and you can literally start today.
So why 21 days? Where does that number come from? It was actually popularized way back in the 50s by a surgeon named Dr. Maxwell Maltz. He noticed it took his patients about 21 days to get used to their new faces after surgery. From that, he theorized it's a rough time frame for our minds to carve out new neural pathways. Now, it's not some magic number, but it's a really powerful guideline and a fantastic starting point for creating change that actually sticks.
Now, this is probably the most important thing to remember. There is no one-size-fits-all plan here. You have to experiment. You have to become a scientist of your own mind. So for example, if you know you're an overthinker, maybe focused meditation is your top priority. If you're a really visual person, a vision board might be the game changer for you. Feeling low on confidence? Maybe daily affirmations in the mirror are your thing. You have to mix and match these techniques to build a routine that feels right for you.
And how will you know if any of this is actually working? Look, you're not going to wake up tomorrow as a completely different person. It's much more subtle. You want to look for these small but powerful signs. Like, you'll start to catch yourself in a negative thought loop before it takes over. Or you'll find yourself saying yes to some small opportunity you would have shied away from before. You might just notice you feel a little lighter, a little more optimistic. These are like the first green shoots of your new mindset taking root.
So, when you boil it all down, this is what it comes to. Your mind is the single most powerful tool you have for creating your reality. You can just let it keep running on that old, outdated programming, or you can pick up the architect's tools and start consciously and deliberately designing the life you actually want to live. The blueprint is right here. So the only question left is, what are you going to build?